Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar, and today I don't want to promote anything like I have been in many of the previous podcasts. Really, before we get into today's topic, I just want to offer an affirmation, and that is, it's important that you take care of yourself. Things have been crazy with the political landscape here in the US. I know many people are exhausted from these unprecedented times where we really wish we could go back to some precedented times. And so I just want to extend to you that it is okay to take a break from the news, from whatever it is that is causing you some stress. Take some time to rest. Don't completely run away from it, but do invest in yourself because it is important to do so. I guess it kind of parallels with what I wanted to talk about today. And today's topic is to make your own decisions. When we are inundated with messages that are wanting to influence us this way or the other, or take this viewpoint, or this is what it is to be this kind of individual, I'm thinking of so many stereotypical toxic and masculine, or toxic and alpha masculine kind of messages that I have grown up hearing for years. And what's often described as like stereotypical for women and for girls, what's stereotypical for different ethnic backgrounds and upbringings. One of the things that I have really taken to heart is it's good to be informed, and yet it's also more important for me to just make my own decisions. I just saw this meme online earlier today that really hits the nail on the head here. And it was this interaction between a mother and her young daughter. And it was at a Target. And the daughter is walking around carrying an Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. And her mom says, "Don't you want any of these toy kitchen appliances?" And she's like, "No, I want to save the galaxy." And then she's like, the mom goes, "Oh, look at all the pink over here." And the daughter says, "Mom, you're turning me to the dark side." As funny as that is, it's really indicative of the independence of this young girl. She wants to be a Jedi. She wants to be the hero who saves the galaxy. She doesn't want to buy into what is stereotypically a girl thing, where it's pink, it has to be about homemaking or taking care of babies or whatever the crap it is. She wants what she wants, and she's making her own decisions about it, regardless of what her parents and society is saying needs to be her desires and her objectives, so to speak. For myself personally, a great example is the Borderlands movie. So Libby and I have really gotten into checking out TV shows and movies from our local library. And we have been getting into Doctor Who when they relaunched it. And I can't tell you how many times I have heard from other people, it's like, "What, you don't watch Doctor Who?" And I'm like, it's just not really my thing. And yet I decided to give it a try. And I can't tell you how many times I've looked at Libby and it's like, man, why did it take us so long to get into this? This is fun. I love the story. I love the characters. And one of the times that we checked out a season of Doctor Who, I also checked out the Borderlands movie. For those who aren't aware, Borderlands is a game franchise from 2K Games and 2K and Gearbox, I believe. And it's very satirical. It's very man, I'm failing to think of what the word is. Stylized. It's a very stylized kind of game. It's goofy. It's over the top with gore and blood and that kind of stuff, but in a very cartoonish way. And it doesn't pull any punches in terms of story, in terms of characterization, in terms of vulgarity, or anything like that. And it is a game that I enjoy playing. I am currently playing through the third game with my friend Ben. And I heard from some YouTubers that Libby and I enjoy watching where they had gone and seen the movie in theaters and they're like, this was a terrible movie. And they had all of these explanations for why they thought it was terrible, and even going down to the minutia of how Jack Black portrayed the character of Claptrap, and they ripped this movie apart. Now, I respect these people. I have enjoyed their perspectives on a lot of different topics around games and other entertainment. Shout out to Outside Xbox. I doubt you guys are listening, but shouting you guys out anyways. And yet, I never did go see the movie in theaters, but I wanted to come to my own conclusion on whether this was a good movie or not. Around the board, it was just panned as a terrible movie. And so I kind of went into it with that expectation. This was going to be a poor movie. This was not going to be a good movie, but I was willing to give it a shot anyways. And as I'm watching, Libby and I are enjoying this evening together. We have Borderlands on. I'm playing a game on my laptop. She's doing a craft project. And I was actually checking in with myself at one point, and I'm like, I'm laughing at this a lot more than I expected that I would have. And I realized I'm really enjoying this. This has been an enjoyable movie. I even mentioned it to my friend Ben. He hadn't seen the movie either, and I told him it's at least worth checking out and watching, because while critics and fans alike have said it was a terrible movie, it actually was one of the better video game movies that I've seen in a long time. And now it's a movie that I want to add to my library. If I had just gone with the views and the experiences of these other people, I would have missed out on something that I have found quite a bit of enjoyment from. And this is something that I don't see very often just in my life in general. There are certain things that I do enjoy that are, I guess, more mainstream, so to speak. Stranger Things, when it came out, Libby and I were watching and have quite enjoyed the show. I know Squid Games is really big right now, but that's not one I'm willing to take my chances on at this point. But I have found great value in looking into things myself and coming to my own conclusions. I want to decide things for myself. What do I enjoy? What do I not enjoy? So many video games that I own, a lot of people are like, this is okay. It's not that great. And you have games, I'm thinking of so many in Roblox, Call of Duty. It's like every single time a Call of Duty game comes out, people are just screaming for it. And I have something different that I want to spend my time with. I want to enjoy these really fantastic stories, or I want to go treasure hunting. When I am streaming online, I have a channel on Twitch where I'll just stream myself playing video games. And what I chose to do was I gave myself the online alias of Crimson Palash. Crimson Palash is a name that I derive from one of my all-time favorite games that came out on the Dreamcast. Sometimes I feel like it's an oft-forgotten console, and the game itself kind of had a heyday there for a while, but now it's not so much. It's very hard for me to find people who actually know about the game Phantasy Star Online. And yet it is one of my all-time favorite games. I go to it frequently. It's a great one for someone like me who likes to hunt for treasure. Though it can be monotonous at times, the odds are definitely stacked against you to get certain things. I like that challenge. I remember back in the day when I worked at GameStop. This was years and years and years ago, when Demon Souls came out on the PlayStation 3. And I heard people talking about it, how it's kind of one of those niche games that, you either liked it or you didn't. And I would hear people describing the way that this game was played is that it was brutally hard. You were expected to die a lot in the game. And one of the things that would happen is your character would gain a currency in the game that you'd use to purchase things or to level your character up. And if you died, all of your currency remained where you died, but if you didn't go back and reclaim it before your character fell in battle again, it was completely lost. And that kind of high stakes, high reward was something where I'm like, oh, that just doesn't sound fun at all to do, until I actually gave it a try. And while it can be a very frustrating experience, I have enjoyed playing these games categorized as Soulsborne games based on the Demons and Dark Souls games and the Bloodborne game. And it turned out to be a game that Libby and I enjoyed playing together. I even think about all of those years growing up when I would hear from peers how dumb or even stupid or maybe even worse that it was for someone like me to want to spend my time playing video games. Why would you do that? Why would you want to sit down and play video games instead of, say, read a book or watch a TV show or play football or kick a ball around or whatever it happened to be? And instead of letting all of these people try and influence me, and there's been a lot of influence to say, maybe there's better things that you could be doing with your time. And I agree that there are times where I could be doing better things with my time. Playing video games is still something that I greatly enjoy. It is one of my favorite hobbies of all time. During this incredibly stressful time here in the US, when so many things are changing and in flux and I don't know what's happening from one day to the next, it's nice to have something that I can reliably return to in order to unwind, in order to find some enjoyment and some happiness when sometimes it's hard for me to find that. I want to ask you a question here. Can you think of any times in your past when there was something that you really wanted to do or something that you have enjoyed that has been criticized, people have been judgmental about, maybe even tried to guilt and shame you into not doing something? Maybe it was learning an instrument because it's expensive to get said instrument. Maybe the time requirement is something that people aren't willing to invest that time in. Maybe it's like going out and learning how to dance. My friends Connie and Kyle, they did ballroom dancing together when they were in college, and apparently that's something that they will still do sometimes, where they will just dance around their house. And that's not something I do. I have the coordination of a dog with 4 left feet, and yet who am I to say, just because it's not something that I'm good at, that others shouldn't pursue it? I worked with a young man who was going to college to become a video game developer. And the video game development and publishment industry is in such upheaval right now, with so many layoffs and so many closures. It would be very easy for me to tell him, are you sure that's what you want to spend your time and your money in? Are you sure that's the industry that you want to go into? Is it the most stable for you? Yet he had this dream, has this dream. And who am I to tell him, don't follow that dream? I don't know what's going to happen. There's no way for any of us to know what is going to happen even just tomorrow, let alone what's going to happen 5 or 10 years from now. There are things that we can work toward, don't get me wrong. However, it is so important that we are the ones who are making the decisions for ourselves. Culturally, there are some people that can have a hard time with this. I am reminded of people who have grown up with the influence of parents on making the decisions about a job, about a romantic partner or a marriage. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen. If there is anything that you have control over, is there anything that you can make a decision about? Is there anything new that you can try? Then try it. Come to your own conclusion about it. I remember when I first launched my coaching business, I quit my job at my previous employer, and as a means of celebrating, I went and had dinner with some friends, and then we all went axe throwing. It was the first time I'd ever done axe throwing. And I'm not great at it, but that hasn't stopped me from having a fun time with it. In fact, there is a picture somewhere of me and my friend Ben holding hands while we are throwing axes at 2 different targets, because we were just being total goofs and having a great time. It's not something that I partake of a lot, but it is something that I have enjoyed. If I didn't try it out, how would I have known? I think about so many friends and family members of mine who absolutely love watching basketball and American football and baseball. It's just, if I'm not there in person, it's really hard for me to watch what these players are doing on these various fields. Some of that is because I've had experiences with some of these sports where I just, especially football, I hate football. I've mentioned this on podcasts in the past. I was forced to play football for 2 years when I was in the 7th and the 8th grade, and I hated both years. I could not get into the mindset of why am I trying to throw other people around so someone else can move a piece of leather from one end of a field to the other? Why am I contributing to something like this? And I could not get into it. And I do not enjoy watching the sport either. The sport that I've enjoyed the most has been tennis. And I can't watch someone play tennis. It bores me. However, I do enjoy watching people speedrun certain video games. Surprise, surprise, I know, it's the shock of the century here on Between the Covers podcast. Marcus enjoys watching video game content. And yet, there are some people that would look at what I enjoy and they're like, ugh, why would you want to do that? What's so fun about that? What's so entertaining about that? And it's okay for us to have those differences. My friends Ben and Brandon, they love baseball. And especially when it's baseball season, it's really hard to find my friend Brandon without being on his phone or having it on the TV, tuning into the latest Mariners game. Or if the Mariners are out, whichever one is playing against the team that he wants to lose. Because, there is that kind of mentality and rivalry among these players and their fans. So that has not stopped me from even trying to take an interest in what Brandon enjoys. I don't understand everything that he mentions when I ask him how the game's going. And it's okay. We have those differences. And we still enjoy being around each other. I feel like I've hammered this home quite a bit throughout this episode. Yet, I do just want to reiterate, you are your own unique individual. You have your own tastes. You have your own likes and dislikes. You have things that you enjoy. You have things that you don't enjoy. There are certain things that we have to do. There are certain jobs that we have to work. But if they're paying the bills, then it's worth holding on to that job until you can get something better. There are times where we have to do things that we don't like to do. And yet, when it comes to the things that you do enjoy, the things that you find yourself dreaming about and wanting to do, don't let anyone else tell you not to do that. Follow your dreams. Find the things in life that bring you joy. Find the things in life that bring you elation, that help you to relieve stress, that bring a smile to your face and give a sense of bonding between you and other people. Be in charge of your own tastes. Explore, try new things. That's the only way you're going to broaden your horizons. But if you find something that you don't like, you just found something you don't like. That doesn't mean that there isn't something else out there that you'll end up discovering is an enjoyable experience, an enjoyable taste, an enjoyable sight, an enjoyable sound. But be the one in charge of that. Make your own decisions. I'm reminding myself of this as I'm even just talking here. Sometimes I do need to speak up for the things that I enjoy and the things that I want to do. It's so easy for me to just allow other people to decide what I'm going to do with some of my free time. And that's not always the healthiest thing, because it does end up creating resentment. And we know resentment is such a great way to connect with other people, isn't it? Allow yourself to be you. Allow yourself to be and enjoy everything that makes you you. If that's something that's been hard to do, try and carve out some time for it. I know it's so hard these days. It is so hard, especially when there are so many homes here in the US that struggle to survive on just 2 incomes. It can be really challenging when you have a lot of things vying for your time. But make some you time a priority. As best as you can, make it a priority. And until next time, live strong for today.